Well, there you go. I don't think it's ever been a problem with you, Noah.
So let's see. So first up, from another group that I belong to, which since we're now New England Vintage Electronics and not just antique radios, even though I don't own one currently, I'm a subscriber or a member of a group for Seabird jukeboxes. And apparently there is a somewhat world-renowned person by the name of Ron Rich, who I think is from the West Coast, who is like the guru, the go-to guy if you're having trouble with your jukebox and you need some advice. And he's written a number of books and service manuals and how-tos and restoration guides. And I was informed earlier today that this past weekend he passed away at the age of 79. So if anybody has any inclinations to or any connections to the jukebox world, if you hadn't heard about Ron's passing, that's kind of recent news.
That's too bad.
Also, I have had some listings on Craigslist for some of my larger consoles and things, sending some things down the road. And I was contacted by a gentleman from Rochester, New York, of all things.
Really?
Yeah, who initially he was asking about a two-piece 1958 Zenith AM, FM, and stroboscopic record changer that I was selling for pretty short money. And he was very interested in it. And he was going to have it trucked from North Reading all the way to Rochester, which I believe was going to be something on the order of 4 or 5 times as much as I was looking to get for the unit. So anyhow, we got to talking, and it turns out that he is a pretty amazing individual and kind of a nut who loves large consoles.
Oh, so he should just bring a band to your house.
Well, that's what I'm hoping. Well, he's bringing a truck, hopefully, or sending a truck. So it's like it'd be a shame to send a truck all the way to my house and only get like one item when it's going to cost you so much to get it to Rochester. You might as well put a few other things in there.
You probably got to fill it.
So he has a Facebook page that he does amazing work. He's like a lot of the, he's like some of the people in our group who not only can do electronic and or mechanical restorations, but he also does amazing finish work to these large consoles. Now, he currently has 270 consoles in his inventory in some kind of, large building up in Rochester, New York. And he told me about I guess there's a group for everything. And I'm not on Facebook, but there was a Facebook group, something called like Vintage Stereo Consoles. And back in 2018, when he first came upon the group, there were something like 15 or 1600 people on the group.
Wow.
And he thought that was pretty amazing at the time. But then he told me, and I went to the group on my wife's PC so that, because she is on Facebook, so that I could actually get in there and look at it. In 2022, in July of 2022, this vintage console radio group has 19,000 members.
Wow.
So consoles are making a comeback for all those of you who out there who don't like to, make fun of the big old nasty looking consoles. Apparently there's big interest that I never would have imagined. So
that's good.
Can't pick them up anymore.
So
you can still get it for cheap. Consoles always, because of the space they consume, that same console oftentimes had a tabletop version. You might be getting speakers and a beautiful woodwork and trim. But at the end of the day, the performance is still the same chassis. And
right. Well, what he was saying was the reason that consoles are taking off is the either the rediscovery, or for some people in younger generations, the discovery for the first time of vinyl.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
the tabletop ones don't have record changers built into them. So,
Right.
the people are starting to like inherit grandparents or parents 50s and 60s console sets, and they have to be fairly interesting and different before he gets really involved in them, not just a run-of-the-mill rectangular box with 4 legs kind of thing. But if they're interesting looking pieces, or like if they're what I call the triple thrill variety, if you get one that has a radio and a record changer and a television, all in the same one, he's drawn to some of those. And so anyhow, it was pretty fascinating to, he was my console angel sent from above, who may be relieving me of a couple of large boxes, so
Yeah.
I was amazed that from 1,600 to 19,000 members of a console group on Facebook in only 4 years is pretty astounding.
Yeah. That's
Some of
pretty
those
cool.
mid-century modern consoles that you're talking about can bring big money.
Oh yeah.
Somebody recently told me of a large Grundig that brought $8,000.
Yep.
That's crazy. They do have some crazy prices. It has to be super rare because it's hard to justify the price.
Well, super rare, and also, in immaculate,
Yeah.
he refinishes all the woodwork and cabinetry so that it looks probably maybe even better than new, like an over restored antique automobile that shines a little bit too much. He gets them practically glowing. When I went to his Facebook page and saw some of his work, but it was very interesting.
Cool. Well, thanks, Noah. Thanks for
Yep.
that announcement. And given the fact that it is, since you kicked it off, sort of, it is July 21st. We're in the heat of the summer, literally and figuratively. And welcome everybody. Nice to see some faces we haven't seen more recently. Hello, Carl, and of course, hi, Art and Larry. Before we kick off, just want to get through any announcements. I know that want to give Len a chance to give a verbal announcement on the New England Steam Museum. And Larry, of course, if there's anything you want to make an announcement for before we kick off the next part of our meeting. Len, do you want to give a verbal? Oh, you're on mute there, my friend. Hey, Len.
Okay,
There
I
you go.
see. All right, so down at the New England Wild Steam Museum this weekend, July 23rd on Saturday, it's the 100th anniversary of WEAN, WJAR, and WKAD, which were all Rhode Island stations. And we're having an event. The museum is open every Saturday this summer, but it's a special event. It's open from 9 to 4. And if you're a ham, you can come down and be a guest operator. And I guess that's about it. The museum is open this summer on Saturdays from 10 to 4, but this is a special event. A bunch of the ham clubs from Rhode Island will be there, so it should be pretty good.
Great. Well, good to know. Thanks for that, Len. In case anyone can make it. Hey, Larry, is there any announcements you need to make from the club side?
Yeah. Nevi venue update. We're very close to signing a contract. Last week, myself, Bob Harris, Bruce Phillips, David Marston, and Adam Vaughn visited the 2 finalist venues that we were looking at. And
chicken in the freezer?
They both would have served us, but one of them was a little more.
Oh shit.
Am I getting through?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I'm getting, there's a lot going on there, and I'm hearing voices.
No, that's all right. I took care of it. At least I think I did.
Okay, I'm wondering, it's not healthy to be hearing voices. But anyway, yeah, we liked one of them, had advantages over the other one. And there was we were wondering how we were going to get tables because they don't have enough tables to service us. But David made a phone call and found we can rent tables at a reasonable price and fairly painlessly, have them delivered to the venue and picked up. So that's what we're pursuing. And when I have a contract, I'll announce where it is and everything. I can say it's in southern New Hampshire, just over the Mass New Hampshire border, and it's handy to an interstate. So
Great.
and I can also say it's not a hotel.
Sounds like
It's not a hotel, but there is a hotel nearby.
That's
So,
great. That's
so
great.
that's that update. The other thing I just want to say, this is an election year. With your next issue of Raven, you'll be getting an election ballot, and we've got candidates for all offices. So and directors. So make sure you vote. That's all I got.
Great. Great. Well, then I guess only the last part of it, which is we all know, is September 24th is a couple of months away for the fall Brookline. And of course, you'll be hearing more details as that evolves. But definitely everybody mark your calendars. But stay tuned for more details. I'm sure there'll be more forthcoming between Raven and email. But so the next part of our meeting is we'll give a few chance if anyone has any recent acquisitions or items they might be not only wanting to show, but it might also be selling. I want to give a chance for members to give a chance before we hit the main part of our meeting. And I know Bill Holly's got something.
Yeah, I've got a couple of items I just recently acquired. And get my light ready.
All right.
And this is a McElroy stream key, which some of you may have seen, except that this one's a little different. It's new old stock, and it's made out of bright shiny plastic, not the chromed metal ones that you usually see. It has the same inscription down here under the key. It doesn't show well on the camera, but I picked it up primarily because I have a new in the original box code practice oscillator that was put out about the same time, around 1950. And this one was marketed as a ham key, and quite rare because apparently it didn't sell well. So that's that.
That's nice. I like the box and all.
And I also got a small key, or actually a reproduction of a key. It's a stick pin.
Look at that. That's cool.
It's a camelback, and it's 9 karat gold. The seller said it was 10 karat, but he said it was from the UK. If it was, it's undoubtedly 9 karat. That was their go-to for the cheaper gold. And it was used to secure your ascot or your cravat, your tie around the neck.
Ah.
So it's a stick pin. There's the stick end. And there's the.
Oh, that's very nice. Yeah, well, maybe we'll see you actually demo it in person, in the flesh.
Yeah, how many words per minute can that thing do?
Unfortunately, it's only a statue of a key, shall we say. It's immovable. The doesn't work, which I would have much preferred it work, but I couldn't pass it up.
That's very nice. Very nice. Congratulations. Both cool items.
Yeah, I thought I was pretty fortunate. And they both come off eBay, and people weren't paying attention, so they didn't cost me an arm and a leg either.
Every so often you get a deal. eBay is filled with bad deals, and then you get occasional good ones floating among them.
Hmm.
But that's great. So anyone else have anything to show, or before we? I see that Tom Perera just joined. I wasn't sure whether, Tom, you wanted to do another slide update, picture update from Friedrichshafen, but I think your monitor is still connecting. If not, maybe we can give you time at the end if you still want to. But any other takers before we start the main part of our meeting?
I just wanted to ask Larry if he was going to be on the air tomorrow morning.
What? Bill's audio is a little low. What was that?
Yeah, I say, are you going to be on the air tomorrow morning?
I am, but well, I may cut out early because I got to make another run of radio stuff over to my storage unit in Nassau.
Okay, I'll probably see you then. We'll try and remember.
I'll definitely be there at 9:30, at least till 10 o'clock.
Okay, I'll try and remember it this time.
Okay. All right. Well, then I guess if there are no other takers of things to show, I guess we'll start the main part of our show. So Mark is here. We've had Mark on before. He's been great about showing all the neat toys he's got in the Museum of Antiquated Technology. And he was kind enough to send me a deck of pictures for him to walk through. I'll share my screen and he'll be the narrator. And we'll see a variety of neat stuff, I'm quite sure. So without further ado, I'm going to share my screen. Here we go. Let me know if everyone can see this okay.
Gotcha, John.
Beautiful. So we're going to start. Well, it wouldn't be Mark without some form of a vintage motor and some vintage electronics behind it. So Mark, you're on.
Okay, here it goes. What you're looking at is a collection of early, in some cases the first, model airplane engines. All of these engines came out in the 1930s, and all of these engines have been cleaned and restored and obviously put onto a base so that they can be seen. If you look, you see the largest one is in the center. That is the Cyclone. And the one to the left that has a very straight look to it, that is a Brownie Jr. Brown Jr. And those came out in the 1930s, actually the early 1930s.
Wow.
And they were the first real rendition of a scaled down two-cycle motor for a model airplane. And do you know there's folks that even use those today, despite the fact that they're a little down on horsepower, have the reliability and sound of a vintage two-cycle aircraft, model aircraft engine. And I won't go through the details on the others. The gold cylinder one, though, it's an Olson gold cylinder. That was also a very early engine that really took off very quickly. And you can see that there's spark plug operated by a set of points, which are down in the front by the propeller. That's where that lever sticks out. And that lever that sticks out is your timer. That's so you can set the timing on these guys. No throttle, they run wide open. So
Yeah.
That's those.
Oh, neat. Yeah, I'd love to hear. It must be a video somewhere on YouTube where you could actually hear the difference, of hearing a vintage motor versus a modern one.
There are so many vintage motors that run on eBay from enthusiasts that it's easy to find a place that actually shows the running of the engine. I don't run mine because I know what they sound like, and I've run them so many times in the past. But I'll tell you, they make a real pretty display for those that are into model airplane engines.
I bet. That's interesting. Now, what is this behind? I'm looking at this panel behind you.
Oh, it's I think it's a precision tube tester.
That's what I thought.
I've opened it up to go through. There's some burnt resistors inside. They're wire wound resistors, a lot of them. And wire wounds, it appears that they took a smoking a while ago. And then there's a couple of tubes. There's a 5U4, and I'm sorry, who has the tubes? Okay, I thought I heard somebody. But it's a handy little tester, but it's nothing like my other testers, my very expensive testers.
All right, pretty cool. Ah,
All right, this is the gentleman that got me going in technology, and this is my father. He is a industrial engineer. So he passed at 93. He had a long and prosperous life. This gentleman went back to work at 75 years old and continued, because apparently the skill sets that he had were needed by the company that he worked for. And they had a choice of either hire him, who knew the whole factory, or hire a contractor, which of course would have been more expensive, I suspect. So Dad's, like I say, he's a boater, he's a carpenter, he's a finished carpenter, and industrial engineer. Behind him is my John Deere B. This is a 1951 John Deere John Deere B in perfect working condition. And that was shortly after I had painted it. I don't think it looks that nice today.
oh, it's a sharp looking tractor.
Oh, they're unusual. They have that twin cylinder engine in the lower right hand corner that filled up maybe a third or a quarter of the space that you see underneath the hood of the tractor. And they also had a very unique exhaust sound, but so they were known as Johnny Poppers.
Known as what?
Johnny Poppers.
Johnny Poppers.
Yeah, Johnny as in John Deere, and
Yeah,
Poppers as in the track popping sound.
Ah, interesting. Cool.
Yeah, a lot of fun.
Nice trip.
I used to use it to haul logs up from the back 40. We have over 12 acres here with a lot of woodland that I burned my wood stove out of, fed my wood stove out of. And that was my tree hauling tractor, and just overall. And that's all I have on that.
Cool. All right, so lots of toys here.
Yeah, this is actually a shot of my first amateur race. As you can see, we have I think it's a Model 140 Helicrafters on the right. And then you have your Yaesu in the center, which I forget which model it is. I think that might be the ZD101 Yaesu. It's a hybrid, I think, if that's the right one. And you got to have a good speaker, and you got to have a good tuner. Without the tuner, you're not going to be good. And I have to backtrack here. The Yaesu system that you see is a 5-piece set. Going from left to right. On the left, you have the power supply. On top of the black antenna tuner, you have the tuning system for the antenna tuner. You have a speaker, and then you have the radio, and the 60, I think it is, microphone is on the right. So that is a complete Yaesu entire 5-piece setup. And up is I was playing around with audio, so I put a mixer in the left-hand side, not knowing that it was the microphone, not the electronics, to make them sound good. And I have an old 40-watt transmitter in the back there, and I'm having the worst time thinking of the name of the transmitter. It's a common transmitter. Who can help me?
Heathkit.
This one here, I assume.
Heathkit, thank you. Heathkit,
Yeah.
yes. And that radio has been taken apart and restored. Unfortunately, the newer equipment I cannot go into. So many multi-layer boards, so much electronics, test equipment just to test the darn things, that I haven't opened up a ham radio since they came out with the multi-layer solid state radios.
Hey, Mark.
Yes, sir.
The Heathkit's a DX40.
DX40, that I knew it was a 40 watt. I have a DX200 up in the museum. That's awaiting restoration. And holy smokes, what a pile of 300-pound radios that was for all of, I think, 1 or 200 watts. I think it's a DX200. And so that would make it 200 watts. And it is just enormous and heavy, and tubes, of course.
Well, I'm not familiar, I don't think, with all the models, but I've never heard of a DX200. There's a
DX100.
DX100 are very common. Yeah, and it's puts out about 80 to 100 watts in that range.
And it's definitely old school in the electronics inside. It's a big radio. It's funny how they can stuff that down into a little package that's a little bigger than a cigarette pack these days. So moving on.
Next picture there. Whoop.
Here we go. This piano is not just a player piano. It is a 1920 Gulbranson 16-song player piano with drums and blocks. You can see the drums and blocks down below. The rolls, you can see the O roll through the window of the top part. And this radio sat in Ediville Railroad's museum for several decades. So any of you that were past visitors of Ediville Railroad pre-1992 would have the opportunity to see this and set up for a quarter of play in the museum. And Helen and I keep it tuned. We keep it ready at all times. It could use another.
Did you break up there, Mark?
No, I'm done. I'm
Oh,
ready.
okay. Well, how neat. Then that's backlit. I see those are lights back there, right?
Oh, it's beautiful. It really is. It's an amazing piece down below.
Wow.
It's lit. We have an antique piano chair to go with it, stool to go with it.
Oh, how neat. What a mechanical marvel of its time.
Actually, it's mechanical and pneumatic, and that's the part. I've had this all apart. And the reason I had it apart is to replace the rubber hoses that had degraded over the years. And it was quite a project. I also had to tighten the drum on both drums and just overall go over it. But it has a long, 5 foot long, 4 foot long, 4.5 foot long manifold directly behind the keys that acts both the piano and the drums. So you have a big manifold. That manifold is in turn hosed up to the manifold for the paper, and it's actually a vacuum that's in the system. Part of it's vacuum, part of it is pressure. There's literally a vacuum cleaner motor in the lower left-hand rear of this unit that provides the pressure and vacuum for the player piano. Now, it may be exclusively vacuum because I don't know that much about pianos, but I am looking down at the block actuators for the drums, and I see that they're all vacuum actuators. They're little, little fellows at the bottom in those square blocks that pull the hammers in to run the percussion, and it still plays well after all the.
Wow, that is. What year did you say, Mark? Roughly
1921 Gulbranson, and
wow.
you can see the O rolls stacked on the left of it. The O rolls are actually newer. This was a single player piano, but it was converted to O rolls somewhere around the time that Ediville Railroad got it. And what it would do is it would play all 16 songs on the roll, and at the end it would uncover a vacuum port that would actuate the rewind mechanism, operate a series of mechanical gear changes, and wind the roll up automatically.
And just replay it?
And just replay Now you can see we've got Christmas, we've got parties, we've got patriotic, we've got all kinds of music for this thing. And it's a
cool.
hoot. Yeah, it's a hoot. There's countless people who come to the museum has sat in the comfy chairs around that piano and listened to it play over the years.
Just the precursor to a jukebox.
Oh yeah. And everybody had a piano, so it was a natural thing to make player pianos. And player pianos were single song, small access through the top front. There'd be a little door there. This one's a lot fancier in that you've got to remove the top and the front, service the roll or change the roll inside the piano. So it's a little bit of work to change rolls, but it plays 16 songs.
Oh, cool. That's remarkable.
That's one of my more fun pieces, and it's something you can actually show off to people. And those that aren't interested in any of my electrical mechanical stuff can at least enjoy this.
Right. It's hard not to find something for everybody in your museum.
I think we've got everybody covered pretty much.
Yeah, sounds like
I'm ready for the next slide.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Thank you. All right. I think we've all built radios in the past, and as I said, I started out very young with a single tube of radios. Now, this is a very simple regen using period parts. I think there's an Atwater condenser in there, a condenser from a pilot, as well as a couple of coils. One coil is the brown coil is just a frequency coil. The green coil is your actual tuner. And this is not tuned. This is not inductively tuned. If you look in the far left, you'll see a number of 9-volt batteries. And if you look at the far right front, you'll see that there's a 2-pole switch. That's because we have both filament voltage and 45 volts. 9 times 5 is 45. 45 volts on the plate, and the tube is a 30, which for some reason, I don't know why, I tested dozens of tubes. I looked at what was online, and you can see that there's a number 85 down below it. That's good. And no, I think that's a number 30 ST as well. But the number 30 tube, it's a triode, simple amplifying triode, works incredibly well. You can get low speaker volume on this, or you can connect an audio transformer like on the output, which is on the right-hand side. And that audio transformer goes to an amplifier. It's actually a signal step down for a simple solid state amplifier, but a tube amplifier can be used. It does have an audio stage to the right. Great radio, picks up 7, 8, 9 stations, all on a long wire with the ground. I gotta say, I cheat with all my radios. They all go on a long wire, and they all have the pipe ground, which is common throughout my.
Sure.
So
nicely done, nice and tidy.
It's not bad. I would have liked to have used some square gray copper bus bar, but I had a heck of a time even just trying to find it, and I couldn't. So there you have it, and that's my version of a pretty good sounding playing regen set.
Oh, that's great. Nicely done.
Thank you. It's fun. It was a lot of. I made its twin too, and its twin is just in the process of some year.
All right.
I'm ready for the next one. All right. This is the years before. I call this before ham radio. And you can see my whole bench is entirely clear of everything but a workbench. And the subject at hand is an Atwater Kent model. And I believe it's the 10C. It has the binding post on the back. So that would be, and I forget how they went. So it's either a 10A or a 10C. And it has all the tags on it. That makes it an early set. It has the vertical wound interstage transformers with labels, I'm pretty sure. And so it's a really Atwater Kent, and they very quickly went to a cable, which turned out to be a lot cheaper and a lot handier for all the people that were trying to wire these things up. But the early ones had binding posts for your B plus and your filament and your antenna and ground along the back of the set. To the left, you see a very old black front box battery B eliminator. This produced up 90 some volts or a little over 100 volts. It had two output voltages, which I've used for the 90 volts, the 45 volts, I think it had, and it also had a filament voltage, which is the transformer, open frame transformer you see on the left. And the meters, of course, were used for monitoring your DC voltages. Actually, one's a cat meter. I had to replace the capacitor on the bottom of the board, which always needs to be done on the Atwater Kent models. So it is my one Atwater Kent red wood, and I have it prominently on in the shop.
Oh, very nice. Very nice. You have all the standard supplies. See?
Oh yeah, we got more supplies than Carter has pills. The speaker is a tower speaker.
Oh, yeah.
And it's one of my better speakers. And that actually, the radio plays that speaker quite well. It'll fill the room with music. So it's, I want to say it's probably around 60 or 70 decibels out of a horn that's fed from the weakest audio output stage you could possibly. I don't know, you're not even sure how many watts these things put out, but it's got to be minimal. But nice radio, very sought after, and my only one.
Wow, that's very nice. Nice speaker too. Nice shape.
Thank you. I like to restore my stuff. You see this rheostats and everything else to go and keep it all working.
Yeah, I saw all sorts of goodies here.
So from here on out, any use of that bench, it's going to be covered with amateur radio equipment from one end to the other.
Right. I guess so. It's your earlier photo.
That was 7 or 8 years ago. I think I got my license 7 or 8 years ago, and it was shortly after my license that bench became a ham radio station.
So really, this is the before.
Yes.
And there's the after.
There's the beginning of the after.
Ah.
The helicopters on the right went upstairs at the museum.
Okay.
And a few other things moved around, and then I finally evolved into a amateur radio station, since that's what my chief interest lied for a number of years. Still is.
That's great.
I have to ask the young whippersnapper question in the group. I think I recognize the receiver up at the top, but I'm not sure. What's the receiver that you have there? The modern one.
Oh, up at the very top, next
Yep.
to underneath the television. That is a good old-fashioned Panasonic Citizens Band radio, which I have made.
Oh no, not under the to the right of the TV, the stereo, the receiver.
Oh, shoot. Yeah, that's a vintage.
Can
Can you get the name on that a little better, maybe?
I'll try. We're starting to lose resolution, but let's see. Now this is
It's a vintage. It's definitely vintage.
You look at Allied or Panasonic.
No, it's not Panasonic. It's one of the good names. One of the older names.
Sansui?
Sansui. No.
No, I see a T there. It almost looks like unless that's I assume that's the name of the manufacturer. I can't tell, or is that a system that's not light?
Oh, wait a minute. It's right behind. Hold on. That's too funny.
We're just losing just enough granularity. It's just.
Yeah. It's an H.H. Scott.
Oh, okay, there you go. Yep. Thank you.
I wouldn't put no Radio Shack up on my shelf. So that's the early work, and boy, it's since then.
And yeah, of course, we do see the CB radio. You did mention.
Oh, yeah.
it.
That was the tail end of the CB. I still talked to a few people at that time. And of
That's
course, CB just went out of my life entirely once I got my ticket.
Yeah, I can appreciate that was just an interim step.
What
I
do you
go
use?
back-
What do you use the Castrol GTX oil on?
I have four, is a story. I have four vintage Model A Fords that were
Oh,
all
okay.
taken out of the local cranberry bogs.
I thought there was some kind of oil bath
It is oil.
tran-
Yeah, it is oil.
transformer thing or something going on there.
Well, I do have those. And 125 transformer in an oil bath.
Yep.
That I use for my X-ray machine, which I can demonstrate if anybody's interested.
Sure.
But yeah, so that is the sprayer that's attached to that GTX can, and I used to spray the engines and transmissions down of all four of my Model A4 bunkers. Two of them are homemade pickup trucks, and two of them, one of them's a bus. I put a platform and a bunch of car seats, and that's very popular. I've had them all for over 30 years. So the GTX bottle is hooked up to a sprayer, which sprays down my chassis to keep my antique cars from rusting. Spray them with oil. If you don't want them to rust, spray them with oil.
There you go. There's a story behind almost everything probably on this bench.
Oh yeah, there sure is. Yeah, there sure is. Black and white TV, top center.
This one here.
The white television at the very top of the screen.
Yeah, that's a Panasonic.
Black and white. Black and white, baby.
With built-in VHS player.
That's,
Yeah, no kidding.
yeah,
The hobby's been fun. I tell you, I did antique engines for over 30 years, and you'll see.
I can set you up with a predictor to replace that with. We need a little predictor.
Are you serious? A predictor has been on my bucket list for decades.
well, there
I
we go. I think we have a deal forming.
Yeah, no kidding. So we'll talk about that later. I got a job to do here. So next slide, please.
There you go.
All right, here is the stereo section of Antiquated Technology. And yes, there's some realistic equipment on the right. When realistic was REALISTIC. Is that the way they're spelling it nowadays? I thought it was different.
Well,
But,
it's, I guess, unrealistic now.
yeah. So
I don't know. I'm enamored with the C8 that I see there, the little mono Macintosh C8. I don't think they called them preamplifiers. They called them record compensators or something back in the day.
Yes, and that's exactly what that is. And it's a fancy preamp that does all your customization of your tone. That's the brown box with the gold front, the gold knobs.
Oh yeah.
And
Yep.
that thing's pretty unique in that there's just not a whole lot of them out there. That's the first one I've ever got.
Yeah, I have a pair of the C4s that were the predecessor to that.
Holy
And
smoke.
I use them with my mono Macintosh MC30s.
Oh, crap. I got to do something about this glare in my eyes. I can't seem to get it out.
That's a great collection right there.
Yeah, that is.
Well, thank you. Let's see if this corrects viewing here. That's a little better. All right, so you've got a boy, what's the first amplifier?
Bogan, maybe.
Yeah, Bogan, thank you.
The one here in the front here?
In the front, yes.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah. Gee whiz, I believe that's mono.
Yep.
It is mono because you've got only 3 tubes. So that would be preamp and the 2 output stages next to the output transformer.
Probably a pair of 6BQ5s or something.
Yes, I would assume so. And the one up above it with the blue chassis, I'm going to need help with. It's another Bogan.
I don't know. You got me on that one. I recognize the one in the front.
David Bean.
Model.
Deca.
DECA. Looks like DECA to me.
DECCA.
Yeah,
Uh,
DECA.
I just haven't looked at that amplifier in probably several years as I zoom around the museum. But it's a nice collection of audio, and of course the Mac 50s in the back really perk it up. And I hate to be a killjoy here, but I actually traded both of those beautiful operating Macs for a 1800s steam engine. If you've ever seen those fancy engines, they're on a little table and they've got all the brass work and the gauges and all that stuff. It was a tough trade. I really hated to see those two units go, but I wanted the steam engine, and the other guy wanted my Macintosh amps in the worst way. It's not very often I trade anything out of the museum, but that would be one. So
But you know, I guess you got what you wanted, right?
You can't keep everything.
I've got a couple of other in place, and I can't even remember what they are. But that's my audio table collection right there.
This is all realistic equipment. What's up front here? What do we got here?
The two.
Those are Scots down at the
Yes,
bottom.
I thought they were Scots. Yeah.
Yes, and they're a set, obviously a match set, and one's a preamp and the other one's the amplifier. I had the Scott tuner to go with them. I really do. That would make a nice trio if I had the tuner.
Yeah,
So,
339 or something like that.
Is that what it is? Yeah,
I think so. Yep.
And it has the gold front. It has the gold front panel. We'll assume yes.
Yeah, I don't think I don't have enough resolution to get a model number off of this.
Yeah, I don't think we do, but it's not. Yeah, it's not crucial. I just look when I go to the radio shows. I just look in anticipation of bumping into that set. So all right.
All right, great. That's a nice set of amps there.
Yeah, a lot of fun.
Oh, look at all the toys.
All right. I guess I can't get the glare out of my eyes, so that you're gonna have to put up with my my funny looking eyes here. On the left is a vintage German microscope from the 1950s, and Jetta, Jenna, is the name of that. And then the telephone panel looking thing is a favorite toy that I had as a kid, and it actually has up to 4 telephones, and it's a telephone bench operator's panel.
Switchboard.
Switchboard.
How cool.
Yeah. And the funny part is it works like a real switchboard. The person that's at the extension has to buzz the operator. The operator.
Yep. I think we lost you there, Mark, for a second. Did we lose Mark? Or is that my side?
I think we lost Mark.
Oh, okay. Hey, Mark, we'll wait a second here. Let's see if I can send a message. Just
Mark, your audio is off. Your audio is off.
me?
No, you're still okay.
Yeah, let me see if I can send him let me stop share and see if I can message him for a second here. Do we lose him completely? May have to come back in here because I actually don't see him anymore. He must have popped off. We'll give him a moment to reconnect. See if I get I don't think I see him already waiting. Give us a moment here. Hey, Tom, you don't have any more photos from Friedrichshafen, do you?
I was just trying to bring them up, John.
No
Give me
problem.
another minute.
No, not a problem, because we can use that, fill that in until we get Mark back.
You're asking for big trouble when you say you don't have any more. I got more than you want to see.
Oh, I think you're speaking to the wrong person on that one. I
Okay,
say, bring it on.
stand by one.
Oh, let me make sure. Oh, sorry. You know what? I got to flip on share screen. Sorry about that, Tom. You are good to go in case anytime you want to share. I'll let Mark in. Maybe he had a little blip on his internet or something.
Lightning strike.
Yeah, you never know. He's in Whitman though, so I thought the storms were up in the north.
Okay, well, I can bring up some. Let me just see where I am here. I'm not really sure where I left off, so you can tell me if you've seen this one. This is a crystal receiver, a whole bunch of crystal receivers of all kinds at this show. And this one was particularly interesting because it had different wiring configurations etched into the front of it. Are you seeing and hearing me okay,
Oh,
John?
absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, here's another radio. I don't know who it's by, but I showed this to an AWA group and somebody had one of these. Looks like a coaxial knob on the right side there, which means it's got to be fairly recent, I guess. I don't know how far back they go. Nice little Bakelite set, and I don't know whether that tractor is a radio or whether it's just sitting there.
That looks
Tom,
like
those coaxial knobs go back to the early 1920s at least.
Oh, thank you. Okay, I appreciate that. Heads up.
I could be wrong. That might have been a Philips, Tom, but I could be wrong. That radio there, I could be wrong. It's hard to
Yeah,
say.
it does look that way. Let me see if I can bring it up a little bit for us. Yeah, it looks like, yeah, it's starting.
Yeah, it is.
Yes, indeed.
Yep.
Very, very good. Okay. I don't know what this one is, but
Well, it's a tough one to tell. Beautiful cabinet.
the variety of radios at this show is absolutely amazing. Here's a nice looking early TV with looks like a shortwave receiver added in for good measure.
Wow.
I suppose that could just be a TV tuner on the right. It's a little hard to tell. Maybe if I enlarge that a bit, we can see what it is.
I gotta believe it's multi-band with
Yeah.
some of the bands being television.
I think there's an icon. I think if you just go a little bit to the right, I think it's the dead center of the dial face. Or it's right there towards the enemy. What did
Yeah.
it say?
I think that's as far as I can.
Looks like Tesla.
There we go. Good catch. Thank you. I was
Yes.
like,
Tesla, I'll be darned. Yeah, good for
how
you.
unusual. I've never
Yeah.
seen that. And it's got to look like a tuning eye on top of it.
The problem with this show is that there's just so much stuff and you can't bring it all home and you really want to. Look at that beautiful phonograph.
Oh my gosh, that's beautiful.
And I think it's a scope. Look at, what do they call it? Kaleidoscope?
Yep.
Colors, yeah. And just tons and tons of these crystal sets. They're very popular in Europe because they don't require any electricity and you can go wild. Another interesting radio set in the background, a box full of tubes, an early telegraph readout.
Oh yeah.
And an interesting telephone, looks like a field telephone, mouthpiece and earpiece. And all of that is sitting on a beautiful old telegraph set that is used for recording telegraph signals. It's a spring-driven recorder called a register. And of course, a spark coil over on the right. Telefunken crystal set.
Wow, that's really early stuff.
Wow.
This one is
That's
kind of
rare.
this looks like it's a multiple voltage power supply. It's my best guess on it, looking at all those little taps. that you
Yeah,
see.
I suspect you're right.
I
Boy,
guess it looks like I've got it upside down. Let's see if I can.
it's a cording.
Combination power supply and welder.
And it is interesting. You know, it's made by Cording, which, you know, Cording was a radio manufacturer, one of the lesser ones. But you can see the name right there. Just, you know, there you go. Right.
Maybe the battery eliminator of its day or something.
Hey,
Yeah,
John? John, am I on?
Yeah, Mark, you're back. We weren't sure where you're coming back, so we're going to give Tom a few minutes. We figured for every meeting for the next few meetings, we're going to get a little picture show from Tom on his visit to a ham show in Friedrichshafen in Germany. So we'll bring you back after Tom gives, you know, a 10 or so, 10-15 minute preso. And we'll
I'm not even going to take that long. Let me just finish this up.
Can I just say?
Sure.
What wonderful stuff. Holy smoke. This is my ear. Tom, beautiful stuff.
This is a British railroad telegraph back before they used sounders. They used needle pointers, and the pointers would be for each of the tracks on the railroad, and you could tell whether there were trains on the track. Very collectible.
Cool. Wow, that is really cool.
And on top of it is a nice horn speaker.
Look at that.
I guess this is a power supply. It looks sort of like a rectifier tube mounted on a transformer. And nice little, look at that little round crystal set in the back on the left there. That's a real beauty. And of course, an Edison phonograph whole thing. And there's a better picture of this guy. These are very, very popular over there. You see them at all the shows, and there's a wide variety of them, so it's hard to be specific. Another crystal set in the foreground and a lovely old radio in the background. I wish I knew more about them, but I just sit there and look at these things and enjoy looking at them. This is an ad for an antique radio show that's coming up in August. I think it's in Germany, and I don't know what this is. It looks military. It looks like maybe it might be optical, but then there's a connector on the left, and hard to tell what that is. And just absolutely beautiful set sitting. These are the kind of set that you often see in French antique stores, and this, I believe, this is a French set. Love the way the tubes are mounted up there, and large piles of telegraph keys and telegraph galvanometers that they use for telling what signals were on a given line. Lots of telegraph keys. There are a bunch of British keys here, a Russian key in the upper left, and a good old American J38 on the lower left there. And another interesting looking radio set. I think that is a honeycomb coil in the middle that has Bakelite around it, but I'm not absolutely sure. And another nifty old radio. Let's see if we can get a look at the brand name on that. No, I guess not. Well, maybe it's coming up a little bit, isn't it? Burn depth. Burn department.
Yeah, that's
now that really is peculiar, isn't it?
Well, it's all in English. It's actually all in English.
Yeah, aerial, earth, parallel, tune, almost earth. Isn't that kind of British sounding when they have earth?
Yeah.
Anyway, another set, beautiful things, really inexpensive given their antiquity too. And another one, the radio in the foreground is a Volksempfänger that was used during World War II. You could listen to Hitler, but if you listen to anyone else, you got shot.
The radio would shoot you.
You definitely didn't want to get caught right down there in the foreground. And another unknown but interesting set. And back there,
Oh, look at those. Jeez.
back to this guy. This one, I think I can pull the brand out, maybe. Let's see what we're looking at. Ducretet. So this is a French Ducretet set. Very nice.
How unusual.
And we're talking literally hundreds and hundreds of these sets at this show. There's a beautiful honeycomb receiver. I don't see, is there a detector on it? I don't see it there, but great set. And this one is absolutely mind-boggling. Think I can get the maker of that.
Beautiful.
Radio Eterna or something.
Alterna or something like that.
Something like that. But really, really lovely set. Again, these are very popular in Europe, and they sell for a lot of money in the French antique stores. You see sets like this. And this is my favorite. This is a knot radio. It says so right there. And if you know German, you understand that a knot radio is an emergency radio. NOT stands for emergency. But if you don't know German, it's a pretty darn funny looking set. So that's it from me from tonight. And I got plenty more to show you later. And thank you for your patience, and glad to have you back, Mark. Your presentation is wonderful.
Well, thank you, Tom. It's just awesome. I'm seeing things, most of the stuff you've shown I've never seen before. So it's just fun, certainly fun for all of us.
Maybe I can talk you into coming over next year, John. Last weekend in June, and it is mind-boggling, as you can see.
But he doesn't really like German stuff, Tom.
oh,
Right.
Sorry, I forgot.
It's all been on pretense all these years. You might be able to do that, Tom, because there's multiple reasons to go down to that area. There's the Zeppelin Museum, there's obviously that show, and I've got some friends in that general area. So yeah, that maybe I'd rethink that for next year.
And it's really always Oktoberfest over there.
That's right. There's always a beer garden to be found.
You have to wait a few months after June to get to Oktoberfest, but what the heck, you could probably find enough beer to keep you occupied.
Just get an early start, that's all.
That's right, the pre-Oktoberfest. There we go.
Look at that, we got Mark back with us. Thank you. Okay.
All right, so I'll go back to sharing my screen here, pick up where we left off. Thank you.
Oh, I thought I lost you guys.
No, yeah, you broke up your voice and suddenly then you disappeared. So we just.
I got knocked out again. Oh no, here it is. Yay.
All right.
For those of you who are unaware, I fight my way through Zoom every single time. And I now have a new used computer, and I thought I was going to get through this in one piece, but we'll see what happens. John, can you get me back?
Oh, sure. I've got you in.
Where's my icon? I don't see. Wait a minute. Let me see.
Let me take a look and see, because I don't.
We're viewing you, Mark, right now. The telegraph recorder in the back, and interesting thing in the foreground.
Yeah, I'm sharing my screen, Mark. Can you see my screen on Zoom? Uh-oh. Did we lose Mark again?
It looks like he's froze.
Yeah, Mark is froze or his computer is froze. So one of those things need to be rebooted.
Hopefully not Mark.
Well, we all have a button in the back of it. If anyone watches Star Trek, watch the Android data.
We will eventually.
There's a secret button there. You can reboot, reset ourselves. We'll try and give it a few minutes here, see if we can get Rick, Mark.
New computer does not help an old router.
Yeah, sometimes that's the problem, or if your internet connection is spotty.
Yeah.
And I don't know if did I hear was a new computer or a new used?
I
Computer?
think he said new computer. I literally moved to a different part of my house so that I could have a hardwired Ethernet connection because the Wi-Fi just wasn't getting it done.
Yeah, I guess since you probably have some. Fortunately, in this house, we have a pretty good coverage because I'm furthest away from the.
I have a feeling that there's something about the amount of metal in the Lionel train set or something to do with all the big consoles that screws up a Wi-Fi connection. I don't know, but
Actually, no. Come to think of it, you mentioned Lionel trains and so forth. Is that Noah? We're gonna have to have a part 2 of your walkabout Noah's house.
So you want me to show some more? of
Would
them?
you mind? Let me unshare. Would you mind, Tom? Just until we get Mark somewhat stable here. That would be awesome.
Sure, I'll start right in with another batch of these, and just yell out at me when you get tired, because
Won't be coming from me.
unfortunately I can't tell you what most of these sets are, but I can sit here and really groove on them. They're just so much fun. Little sets like this. I think maybe we're looking at a certainly coupling coils up there. Maybe I can see a cat's whisker.
Yep.
Down in the front there. So this is a little crystal set, and it's a little hard to tell with these sets because the Germans are so good at building them, whether this might be a commercial set or not. Someone who knows German radios could immediately tell us, but I'm afraid I don't know. It's just a nifty little set. Thing like that you can often get for $5 or $10. It's just amazing. Just sitting there by the dozens. And of course, if you want to wind your own, there's always plenty of wire on sale at these shows, and you can choose your color and your.
Well, pre-wound, the real good engineer just takes one of those at random and then builds a radio around it.
That's it. That's perfect. And of course, parts, and you just go on and on. Great piles of parts, and for the most part, they are fairly familiar, although the binding posts are typically fairly different looking in European sets, and some of the switches are different. And of course, the knobs are different. So if you have foreign sets, this is the kind of place you want to come to get parts for them. There's another view from the other end of the table. Let's see what we have in the foreground here.
There might even be enough stuff there to fix a Telefunken or a Grundig.
Maybe one console.
Yeah.
Some of that pot metal that's always falling apart.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Okay, and there's some military radios and test equipment. This is a Richtfunk, which is a right radio, high band transmitter, €60, $60 for the thing. And it looks like a nice little VFO actually up on the top there. Here's a beautiful tube tester with programmable, I guess all the parameters are programmable in the front. And I think there's a book in the back there that tells you the settings for the different tubes. This one isn't as dramatic as some of them. This is a military surplus rig. I believe it is a receiver, but let's see if we can pull it out. Not very easily. Sorry about that.
Oh, that's okay.
One of the problems is people don't like it when you use flash, and my hand shakes. So some of these pictures are not so good. This is a wonderful, wonderful little science set. It was being sold for $100, and it has a static electricity generator, 2 Leyden jars, the red things on the right, and a bunch of little spark gaps up here, and bells that you can ring with the sparks. And it's sort of a kid's science tool kit, or science laboratory.
How
And
cool.
a really, really beautiful set. If I'd had room, I would have definitely taken that home. It's just a absolutely lovely piece. And on the right, you can see some typical German telegraph equipment. The register in the back prints dots and dashes, literally dots and dashes on a moving paper tape as the long and short electrical impulses come in. And these are a couple of German telegraph keys. And that little guy in the middle on the right is a Russian telegraph key. So there are all kinds of telegraph keys available. Here's another set of telegraph instruments. When I was really into telegraph collecting, this place was amazing because these things could be bought so cheaply. Beautiful register in the back, not quite as beautiful, but nice register in the front. And it looks like one of the early batteries, a liquid battery, the glass thing that you see in the middle there.
It's either that or a water pipe. I don't know.
Yeah. I was wondering why the dealer looked so.
Sorry. I read about them on the internet.
Right, of course.
Kind of weird to have a water pipe with electrical terminals on it, though. I guess they give you get a little zap when you.
There you go.
But those early batteries are very popular
Neat.
collectors and very unusual. On the right of that is a beautiful old Swedish telegraph key, and you can always tell the Swedish keys because it has a very, very long lever here, a little tiny knob. You grab that in your fist and move that thing up and down by moving your entire forearm. That's how they're taught to send. And, the telegraph key in the foreground here is a French Post and Telegraph Corporation key. Roughly, both of those date around the turn of the century, roughly 1900 or so. A whole bunch of telegraph keys. In the upper left is a Swiss key. All the silvery looking ones are Russian telegraph keys. The one in the middle with the brown military look is a German World War II telegraph key. I'm sure you all recognize this little Western Union set.
Yeah, absolutely.
And another one of those telegraph indicators, a galvanometer, that little round thing that you see there. And this is a pile of really, really very juicy looking telegraph equipment.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Get a collector very excited. You could probably buy that whole table for maybe $500 or so. So if you wanted to start an instant collection, you could do that. This is an interesting radio. It is a Radion, I believe. And these were used aboard submarines as morale radios. And they'd have this thing on a submarine and they'd tune it to the fatherland and they listen to Hitler's voice and everybody would feel really good on the submarine in World War II. So these were used on U-boats, and I have a number of these and I have a number of pictures of them. And not every day that you see a U-boat radio for sale.
No, that is cool.
They typically sell for $100 to $150. So you can buy
what's the technology there? Is it AM? Is it shortwave? Is it FM?
It's shortwave AM only.
Okay.
No CW. There's no beat frequency oscillator on these. The purpose was just to tune into Berlin and let the guys in the submarine sing along with the old songs.
Kind of like they had one of those maybe in the Hunt for Red October or something.
Yeah.
There you go.
It's amazing how many American military sets are here. There's a PRC-6 used during the Vietnam War, and they're just, I remember one day I came and there was a barrel, 55-gallon drum full of these things, and they wanted €5 each for them. So
maybe they came from Ramstein Air Force Base or something like that.
Yeah, maybe they all came from there. I don't know. Looks like a nice little receiver down in the underneath the walkie-talkie. Let's see if I can get a name. No name on that one. This looks like a I don't know what, some kind of a test meter. You got a a big coaxial connector on here that means it's probably UHF. And I guess it's probably a frequency meter.
Is that antenna on the top or something, that
Yeah,
round?
yeah, good point. That's
What
it.
if it's like a direction
So
finder?
that
or
would make
something?
this a direction finding receiver. Yeah, thank you. I didn't spot it up there. Nice spotting.
Good catch.
And another little receiver and miscellaneous stuff to the right, another Radion U-boat receiver on the right of that. And let's see, what is this guy?
That looks like a Grundig.
It's a Grundig, by goodness, you got it. I don't know what model, but
yeah, I'm sure it looks obviously a portable.
yeah, 10 euros if I remember correctly. There's another radio. There are just all sorts of these radios out there. I can't imagine that they made that many for U-boats. So I imagine some people use them in the home environment.
Oh, look
Nice.
at that.
Ooh.
Phonograph
Ooh.
in, looks like maybe a lady's hat box.
Yeah.
With
Yeah,
a
Or like
phonograph.
some kind of a hair dryer type thing, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The German, I know the Germans made a variety of, I know they, like even telephone can have these portable units that you have the right above is the speaker built right in. You can basically, as long as you've got power, you can just carry this thing in. You can see the plug.
Yep.
Yeah, the plug's right there. They're cleverly designed. I've always kind of wanted one. I
That's
passed.
way cool.
Well, you could have had this one real cheap. Another reason to go.
Oh, wow. Look at that.
Do we have Mark back with us? Can anybody tell?
Let me double check. I haven't seen the participant pop up for me to let him in. It looks like Mark is still offline.
Okay.
If you you know, if you up for going for another 5 or 10 minutes, Tom,
Yeah, just tell me to shut up as soon as you're ready.
Look at that.
Well, you're showing German stuff. He's never going to tell you to shut up.
Yeah, it's not coming from me. It'll have to be somebody else to be rude.
Okay, so it's someone else's job to tell me to shut up then. All right. I won't, my feelings won't be hurt. I don't know what this guy is,
It
but
might be a Saba, but I'm a little bit unsure.
yeah.
I do see a tuning. I'm trying to see the icon right at the lower left corner of the dial face.
Okay.
That one's a tough one, but
RCA. No, my
Oh yeah, I see that little round thing.
yeah, it might, hard to say, but it's, yeah, you lose the resolution, but could be.
I'm afraid my hands started to shake at this
Oh,
point.
that's quite all right.
It's a little blurry.
Oh,
There's a couple of nice ones. I don't know if I can pull
I
out.
don't recognize. There must be like one of those lesser brands. This is not something I've seen very often. Wow, look at this stuff. Neat toys. Probably good I wasn't there. God help me if what I would bring home.
Yeah, that's a problem. Bringing stuff home. Luckily,
Not a problem, John. Before you go, just get the home equity loan all set up.
Yeah.
I have to get the hard helmet first to protect myself from the wallop of the waffle iron.
So what do we have here, John? Is
that doesn't even, I'm not even sure that's German. I'm like,
oh, Solina, is it?
Yeah, I'm like wondering if that's Spanish or French, or it doesn't look German to me.
Yeah.
It is. It's made for a market that's outside of Germany. Wow, I've never seen one of those before. What unusual.
What do you think that knob in the middle, the horizontal one, does?
I'm gonna guess. I wonder if it is the AM the ferrite bar on these.
Yeah, it usually rotates the ferrite bar inside the set.
Okay, that would make a lot of sense.
So you don't have to move the radio left and right.
Right.
I think that's an I tube there,
yep, it's an I tube, and it's got the piano keys.
And it looks like there's something to the left of this knob that might light up too.
Oh, no, that might be like a tone. I'm guessing it could be the volume or tone, where it just shows a little bar, mechanical bar showing you the But it's interesting. I've never seen this before, and I'm trying to think of who made this. So, but it
That's
has
the
a lot
real-
of German attributes to it because it's like typical piano key, the rotating ferrite antenna, but it just isn't jumping at me.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
And this is a fax machine.
Wow.
Early fax machine, and I imagine it probably used gunpowder paper where they jump a little spark over to the paper and it darkens the paper, and by controlling the spark by the fax signal, you print out pictures in that way. This one, I guess, was worth something at I think it's at 280 euros or $280, and you'll notice it's made
Yep.
by Siemens.
Siemens.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
There we go. We got Mark coming back.
okay, let's see if he can.
We'll give
do
him a
it.
few
I'll-
moments.
I'll
Interesting.
stop.
Wow, look at this stuff.
So shall I stop yet? Is he?
Well, maybe we'll give maybe if you want to go another picture or two. I'm sure Mark has to. Sure, its connection is stabilized. Mark, just let us know when you are really in. You can just jump in and yell.
So this is a Sailor R103 in okay condition. And I imagine maybe that would be a marine direction finder, direction finding receiver, but it's a little hard to tell. And underneath it is a well-known Hewlett-Packard, probably frequency square wave generator or something like that. And it looks like a Hewlett-Packard scope under that. And what else? This is a German World War II radio that was used mostly in aircraft. It's an AM radio used for aircraft to aircraft and aircraft to ground communications. And they sell typically for about $100 to $150. This one's in very nice condition.
Wow.
And here we have a nice selection of, what do we have here?
That is either Grundig or a telephone. The Grundig. It is a Grundig.
Is that a Grundig and the?
It's probably late 60s, early 70s, mid-range portable. Can't remember the model number, but it's the tag has it. But yeah, 35 euros. That's not, if it works and clean, it looks in pretty good shape. That seems reasonable enough.
Yeah, and the big one, the big one in back is only either 25 or 35, and that looks a lot like the one we saw earlier with the horizontal dial. Maybe a different model of that.
Yeah, there's AT. I'm trying to see what the tag says. Yeah, it's interesting. It's got the dead center tuning eye.
This is a beautiful.
Ooh, that's a Telefunken. Oh yeah.
Is this one you recognize?
Yeah, I can't remember the model number. Yes, that's a beautiful condition.
Got an eye. Is that an eye tube in there too?
Yeah, that's probably like an EM30.
Yeah.
4 or 5.
Right.
And for there's a model number. It's something WK, and it's like 180. Did I read that right?
Yeah, $180.
Well, if it works, that's actually not unreasonable given the condition.
The euro and the dollar were equivalent, so it's whatever the price is equivalent in dollars. And this is an interesting looking set. I love that dial. Look at that. It's a Siemens, and beautiful condition inside. This one's 310, so it's must be collectible. So somebody has an idea that it is.
Yeah, fairly uncommon.
Nice looking set.
That is. Like that semicircle. Philips TV.
There's a Philips television, 250. Probably black and white, I would imagine. Don't know about this one. Do we have a?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I have to look at the dial face, see if we can learn.
Can you see anything?
Nothing is jumping at me on this. Wait, I think it's in the. There's a. I think it is on the left side. I just.
Yeah, maybe that.
People.
Is that? No, no, that's a telephone.
Oh, yes, okay.
But wow, well, that's also a very nice condition.
Yeah,
Good. You can see it's got the
I
thing
don't
on
know
top
the
of
price on that one.
another.
Look at that beauty. Isn't that nice?
Oh, look at
That's
those Siemens.
Siemens 2SW, is that it?
Yeah, 100.
60, beautiful condition. Look at that thing.
Yeah,
Magnificent.
that's pretty.
Yeah. Is it time to quit yet?
Let's see, Mark, do we have you back? Because I saw your face a moment ago. Did we lose Mark?
I still see him. I just can't hear him.
There
Did
he
you
is.
mute
Mark,
him? He's
Mark,
muted.
you're
He's muted.
Yeah, you have to hit the.
There we go.
There we are.
Oh, us, I'll tell you, now I won't say us old people. Some of us old people really have a hard time with this. Did you just disappear again?
No, we're here. It just
No,
says,
there you are.
yeah, Tom just stop sharing.
What would you like to do?
Well, we could pick up for a few minutes. We can always pick this up for the next meeting, but we can go through another photo or two. Why do I reshare my screen?
Tom's stuff is awesome. Tom, you had a great time, and I'm definitely envious, and I'm absolutely envious over some of that really old stuff that you showed us.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you for indulging us, Tom.
Hey, watch out, because I got a lot more pictures.
Oh, good. Then we can find a little bit of time, with every meeting, we'll find a slot for Tom and give us a little taste of all the stuff we don't see on these shores.
Yeah.
So I'll go, let me resume sharing. All right. See here, I think this is, now, can you see okay, Mark? Can you see the picture?
I actually lost the picture, and I lost everything.
Just now?
Just now. Oh, there we go. Okay, so we're back where we left off, and I'm going to dive right into it. So you can see in the front, there's on a black platform, there's a mechanism that is a 1950s Gamewell. It's both a transmitter and a receiver, and you can see the two cogwheels on top. Well, one cogwheel has a red handle, and the one right next to it has these irregular notches, these irregular bumps on the cam wheel. That is a cam, and that actually knocks out telegraph to explain where the fire is originating from. So if there was a police department fire or a fire department in the building, this is the one that would call for aid, and this one also is able to talk to the receiver that is in the back, which is the tape punch mechanism, which is also very old. That is turn of the century. It has date markings going back to late 1800s.
Wow.
And it's the whole deal. It came with the roll of tape and everything.
Wow.
Both are wind-up devices, but the paper tape is punched as the signal comes in, and it shows as punch-outs on the tape itself, which you can read. There should probably be a little more distance between the pickup wheel, take-up reel, and the receiver itself, the punch. But that is favorite pieces, and it's operating, and you can see there's a control panel down below. The two circuits that are controlled by the switch is the transmit mechanism and the receive mechanism, which operate on solenoids, and they work quite nicely on 9 volts apiece.
Wow.
Can I just add a couple of comments, Mark?
Please do.
The fire alarm signals were sent out initially by a telegraph key looking thing, which the fire departments called a tapper rather than a telegraph key. And the idea would be you would tap out the bells, and it would ring bells in the firehouse. So if you press the telegraph key, the bells in every firehouse in a city would ring when you push the key, and you'd listen to the code of bell rings, and that would tell you exactly where the fire was, or at least where the box was that was close to the fire. So this was a very early way of alerting the fire department electrically as to where a fire was. And the interesting thing to me is that Gamewell went into business very, very shortly after Morse started his first telegraph demonstration. So the first telegraph demonstration was in the 1840s, and Gamewell went into business in the 1840s. And that's amazing length of time, because they, right up until the present day, the Gamewell company does fire alarm stuff for people. I'm not sure the most current stuff, but it's a very, very, very old company. And happily for collectors, the instruments that they use, the early so-called tappers or telegraph keys, are very, very beautiful, made of brass and very elegant. And of course, the registers like the one you see in the back here are very collectible. So a lot of people who don't even think about collecting telegraph stuff collect Gamewell stuff because they're into fires and fire alarm equipment. Sorry, Mark, I just wanted to add that information.
Oh, I'm very impressed, Tom. Thank you for that. I really appreciate it. Can you work part-time at my museum to help explain some of the things to visitors? Would you be willing?
Sure. If you have enough beer, I'll talk for continually.
Oh, that's great.
Give me the docent.
What a wealth of knowledge. Next photograph, if you can't do it.
Oh, sure. I'll call out that interesting radial motor.
The radial engine. If you can get some, and again, these are group pictures that were taken for insurance purposes, and I will personally re-photograph a bunch of neat stuff that can be displayed by itself. Now he's just getting the right-hand corner. Oh, it's too bad I couldn't get rid of the video. There we go. All right, so we can see it's a three-bladed prop, metal prop. It has 5 cylinders. It is a 4-stroke, and it is a near exact running replica of the 80 horsepower engine, 5-cylinder radial that it was designed. I do forget the name of the motor, the engine that it was designed for, but beautifully done with jewelry-like rockers, these little tiny rockers and little tiny spark plugs. And right in the top, in the middle, you can see the little tiny carburetor. This whole thing is about 5 inches in diameter by the cylinders, maybe 6 tops. Yeah. And I think the blade probably around an 8 or 9 inch prop blade. So it'll run. I actually designed and built a pickup for it, handle for it in the back. You just see the copper bus wire that forms the handle and the clips that clip it in. But when I hand this to somebody to look at, they have to use both hands and they have to handle it over the bench. Again, one of my favorite pieces. Very visual. 5-cylinder. It's called a Morton. And it's a 4-cycle airplane, a model airplane engine.
Wow, but you need to see that run.
It would indeed. It would indeed.
Oh, look at this. Look at all the little pocket transistor radios.
Yeah, this is the actual left-hand side of my existing workbench. You're looking at what I see as I sit here. If you look to the engine that's in the center, the lowest part, that is an actual break hit and miss model of a gas engine. You can see it's got a brass muffler. It's got 2 steel flywheels. It's got a governor inside the flywheel that's facing you, and it uses hit and miss, make and break ignition. This is an ignition system where there's actually no spark plug. There's a couple of contacts. You can see them right on that green box, which is the water tank for the cylinder. You're looking at the cylinder up at the top. And there's a make and break mechanism that produces a tiny spark inside the combustion chamber to make the engine run. I have it running on compressed air right now. You can see the fly turning.
Oh, yeah.
All right. And this is so I can take it to shows and run it all day long without wearing the foolish thing out and constantly try to keep the igniter clean and things like that. The transistor radios are an excellent mix. They're all colorful. I do not buy black radios because the color is just not there. So I picked not only the regular 6 transistors radio, which are of 60s origin, but also the Boys 2 transistor radios, which some of you may be familiar with. There's a 3 transistor radio in there, but there's at least 4 or 5 2 transistor radios in that mix that, unless you know what they are, they don't look any different from the 6 transistor radios that flooded the market here in the United States back in the 60s. And on the far left side is a dental compressor. This is my air bench compressor. And you can see it too is working away there with the flywheel. I wish you could see it more, but there's a big 1/4 horse motor in the base, and there's a flat belt that goes up to the pulley. And the device in the middle between the cylinders and the motor at the bottom is a very detailed and well-built pressure switch of all things. This thing was done to do repeatable pressure, which, but in the realm of a dentist. In other words, a dentist, anytime his drill went slow, you'd hear that compressor kicking on in the back closet. It only ran at 30 PSI. So when the dentist goes in to do his drilling, it's only 30 PSI. And that's a very well-known compressor. It's a Ritter, which made all sorts of dental equipment right through till today, from the turn of the century up through till today.
Oh, interesting.
So, the compressor is as much of a work of art as the engine is. They're both just beautifully done.
Oh, yeah. Gosh.
So do you want to knock off, or do you want to go to a couple more pictures?
I have one question for you, Mark. I'm wondering, I see all these wonderful little one-lung airplane engines. Did you ever try, there were a number of companies that made a diesel version.
I have the diesel. It's actually called DEZZIL or DEZIL, something like that.
Yeah.
But I have a diesel. I have 2 diesels actually, and they're known as compression ignition.
Sure.
It's to call them diesels, but they still had like a 13-to-1 compression ratio. So you'd actually ignite the fuel by pressure. I think the fuel was the same fuel as used in gasoline engines. I don't think it ran on diesel oil.
I think that, isn't that one right down in the very bottom, little to the right, the red cylinder?
Yes, that's the European version right there. Wow, you got good eyesight.
Yeah, nice going, Mark. Now, my question for you is, I always had a heck of a hard time starting, whether it was a glow plug or a spark plug, but I never bought a diesel because it was so hard to start the other kinds of engines. And I'm asking, have you ever run it, and can a real person get it started?
Yeah, actually, the diesels are prominent in Europe. Compression ignition engines are prominent in Europe just because of the convenience of getting rid of the spark plug and the ignition coil and the batteries. However, the diesel somewhat made up for the weight, as it was very heavily constructed. The little one that you see down below is a modern for sale European diesel. I just like the colors. You can't beat the colors. Also, Tom, you're a key guy. Take a look at the lower right. What do you think that is?
Well, that is, believe it or not, a transistor radio.
Geez, I thought.
And a telegraph set. And if you press the key, it will beep at you. And if you turn the dial, it'll play music for you.
You are the master of obscure telegraph information.
Wow. Give the man a cigar.
Yeah, give that man a cigar. Now down below at the very bottom, next to those green rolls, you'll see this, not the watch, but the radio. Those are the early coat pocket radios that still use a 4-tube, like 1Z5 or a 1U8 or something, but they were all number 1 start tubes. And that version, unfortunately, I have the version of that to the left that is all transistor, which shows nothing because the stupid bag is in the way.
Right. Interesting.
Now, Mark, what about that little tiny engine up there? Is that one of those guys that worked on CO2?
You are correct. Yeah, go ahead and go up with your picture. Scan up.
No, that, yeah, you got it. You had it.
I had it. I missed it, Tom. Oh, go down a little bit.
Down, a little more down. Now it's almost in the middle. Yeah, there you go.
Oh, okay. That is a model airplane engine.
Yeah.
And that is an 010. That is the smallest engine, that reciprocating engine that I am aware of for model airplanes. I have it in the black version, which you see there, and I also have it in the red version. And the piston is I want to say 6 millimeters in diameter, a little under a 1/4 inch for those of you American measurement. I grew up with motorcycles, so I know the metric system. But that is a 6 millimeter piston. So it's a 6 millimeter bore, about an 8 millimeter stroke, and it'll push a plane that weighs about 3 or 4 pounds. That's all it's good for, almost like a glider status.
Yeah.
But it's a wonderful, wonderful little engine. And the thing I loved about it was it practically started itself. I must have broken 3 or 4 fingers trying to get gas engines started. But that little boy, you put a CO2 cylinder in your little holder there and shoot the CO2 into it, and it just takes right off. I love it.
Yeah. And I have several of those CO2 engines. They're not visible. That one there, though, Tom, is glow plug fuel. That's actually an internal combustion engine. So it's not an air engine, which impresses me. It has a glow plug built into the cylinder head. It is the tiniest carburetor you've ever seen underneath the propeller. So if you look just under the prop on the right-hand side, you'll see the little tiny carburetor, and that thing goes at 20,000 RPM plus.
Wow. That's
great, Mark. Thank you.
Yeah. Now in front of it, the round thing with the handle, that's an igniter for a no, right-hand side silver. It's all aluminum. Yeah, that's an igniter for a very large model airplane engine. But look, the igniter is actually for that. The breaker points for that are bigger than the whole engine behind it.
Yeah.
Wow. Tiny stuff. But the radios are of course one of my major favorite collectibles. And you know, if anybody's into transistors and they want to let go of a few colorful examples, most of that has been produced by eBay or friends or antique shops, but mostly eBay. And and you got to wait for the bargains. The transistor radios on eBay for the most part are way overpriced.
Right.
And you got to go way down in the lost, the 3rd or 4th page before you'll start to see an occasional bargain come up.
Yeah.
Although I have done some buying right off the bat from eBay's first page. The engines on the right are the first model airplane engines ever made. They are old. You can see that the cylinders were actually built up from several pieces, as in the first one on the left-hand side, it looks like it's cast iron.
Yeah.
It's cast iron. And they cast all the ports and the bore, and of course the exhaust port. And the exhaust port is nothing more than 3 or 4 holes going out to the side of the cylinder, just past the, just behind the timing arm. The next one to it, which is also silver, you can see a big coming right off the prop shaft. And so that's a set of points, that square thing coming up. And the whole cylinder was fabricated with brazing. They brazed on all of the pieces, the bypass port and the intake port and the exhaust port were all brazed together. And the other two are similar construction. But I will go into detail. This is not a model airplane show. This is an antique radio show.
These things must be heavy, though, relatively speaking, these engines.
They weigh between 6 and 14 ounces of weight, and they only produced, they're all big ones. They're all 60s. All four of them are, that are up there, the four big ones, and they all produce about a fifth of a horsepower is what they're rated for.
It's cool.
Yeah, except for right there, that you can see with the round prop nut, the little guy there with the tank in the bottom. He's an 09, I think. Now, those of you remember the 049 engine, they actually evolved out of these early engines right here. And you can see that engine, that little guy looks nothing like an 049 today that you'd buy with like a you fly it model airplane.
Oh, interesting. Wow. Cool stuff.
I wish I had better photos.
That's all right. You can always take some more later.
I know, but I think Tom's gonna be the main provider of entertainment for this summer. Wow, has he got some photos?
That's cool.
So, you want to?
Well, let's see here. We can either, because we won't get the, let's see, let me just stop sharing for a moment, see how many pictures we have left, because I can't tell without looking.
We can go.
I would say we have a bunch to go.
Yeah.
So maybe I don't know if you want to do this at the next meeting, Mark. I'll leave it up to you.
Of course.
Whether you want to do the next meeting or the meeting after, but we can certainly pick this up.
My motto is a collector is most happy when he's showing off his collection. Right, Tom? Tom still there? Oh, he might be muted.
No, he stepped away. So we are without Tom, but we have his background.
Okay.
But yeah, Mark, if you're up for it, we'll talk over email. If you're up for doing it next week, we can pick up where we left off. Plus, we can get more pictures from Tom. And I know that Joe has got something he could show us as well. So I think we could have a nice potpourri of a variety show at the next meeting to more than fill our time slot. And so
I think that's wonderful.
So that would be great. So we'll definitely do that. Was there any, before I start shutting down the meeting, is there any last minute things anyone wants to bring up or show or announce or anything like that?
Greg Van Beek, can you put your audio on? What is that radio behind you with the black dial? I'd just like to know that.
Oh, that is a Zenith.
It is a Zenith black dial.
Yeah.
Now that's the shutter dial, right?
The shutter dial, the Walton. Yep.
I think I asked you before in the Walton. Boy, you have a nice background for when you're doing your Zooms.
Well, thank you.
That's just a pretty radio. I wish I had one.
Yeah, that's probably one of the most attractive dials that Zenith ever made.
And I love the shutter dial. I think that's awesome.
No, that's beautiful. That's a keeper. That's a keeper for sure. But so we can wrap it up. Like I said, next event show, I think we just pick up where Mark left off. I'm sure we can get Tom to show a few more photos, and Joe's got something he wanted to show us. If he's up for it, we'll talk offline on that. And so in the meantime, I guess I wish you guys enjoy your upcoming weekend. Stay cool. It's gonna be hot, and hopefully we'll get the hot air out of here before long and have something a little more comfortable. And we'll certainly talk to you either on the email or from maybe over the airwaves. I wish you guys a good evening. And
Thanks a lot, Mark.
Yeah,
Thanks.
thank you,
Thanks,
Mark.
Mark.
Thank you, Mark.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Tom,
Tom.
and thanks, John.
Night, everybody.
All right, guys, you take care of yourselves.